A marketing example. A department store has hired a marketing firm to create 3 types of ads: social media, TV, and radio. They want to know how many of each type of ad to create to maximize exposure, which is how many people view the ad or hear it. Okay, so we have the exposure, which means how many people per ad see each one, and the cost per ad. Okay, so exposure is what we are maximizing. Okay, maximize exposure. How many of each type of ad? Okay, so our decision variables are the number of ads, X1, X2, and X3. Exposure will be these numbers in this column right here. So 20,000 per social media ad, 12,000 per TV ad, and 9,000 per radio ad. So here's our exposure: 20,000 X1 plus 12,000 X2 plus 9,000 X3. Okay. We also have a budget, which deals with the cost of creating each ad. Okay, so here's our cost: 15,000, 6,000, 4,000. So our budget constraint would be 15,000 X1 plus 6,000 X2 plus 4,000 X3, less than or equal to our budget of 100,000. The company manager wants no more than 4 social media ads. Okay, social media is X1, and so it needs to be less than or equal to 4. The TV station has time for up to 10, so we're going to only make up to 10, less than or equal to for X2. Radio has time for 7, so our radio ads are limited to 7. X3 is less than or equal to 7. The ad agency has time for no more than 15 total. So our last constraint is X1 plus X2 plus X3, which means the total number of ads has to be less than or equal to 15. Okay, because each of those represents the number of each one. Of course, our decision variables need to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, let's solve it in Excel. Okay, so here's our 3 blank cells in B8, 9, and 10. Our exposure equals 20,000 times X1. Okay, remember, we're always clicking the blank cell, plus 12,000 times X2 plus 9,000 times X3. Okay, our budget limit. Okay, here's our budget. So it equals 15,000 times X1 plus 6,000 times X2 plus 4,000 times X3. Okay, that's our budget formula. We always start off with equals, and it has to be less than or equal to 100,000. Okay, social media, X1. Okay, so I'm just going to type equal X1. X1 is B8. X1 is B8. Okay, less than 4. X2 equals B9 is X2, and that's less than 10. Radio limit, X3 is less than 7, so equals X3 is B10, less than 7. Okay. Now X1, X2, and X3 represent how many of each type. Well, the total has to be less than 15, so that would equal X1 plus how many of X2 plus how many of X3. Okay, the total number of social media plus the total number of TV plus the total number of radio ads equals the total number of ads made. And they only have time to make up to 15. Okay. We're going to click Data. Okay, and our Solver button. Okay. We want to maximize exposure is in B12. Exposure is in B12. We're maximizing. Our variable cells are the decision variables. Drag and highlight. We're going slow. I lost my solver. There we go. Okay, by changing 8, 9, and 10, our constraints were all the same, less than or equal to. So add, I can say B1 through 5, less than or equal to C1 through 5. I can do that because you can see they were all less than or equal to. Add, always our decision variables greater than or equal to 0. Let's see what happens. Okay, now you see how we got decimals? We haven't talked about this yet, but we need to think about we're in the real world and we can't make part of a TV ad or part of a radio ad. Okay, so there's a special constraint that we're going to add. X1, X2, X3 need to be integers. Okay, we're going to add that in our solver. So we're going to click this, the B8, 9, and 10, we're going to change it to, instead of greater than 0, we're going to select INT, which stands for integer. That means whole number. So click OK and solve. Okay, so we're going to make this be whole numbers because what we're doing needs to be whole numbers. Okay? And we can see that it's solved it under the condition that they're integers, which means whole numbers. And that's the end of this lesson.